Hi, I'm Traci Arieli from Comfort Enclosure, and I'm here today with Trina Wacasey from Creating Honoring Spaces. And we're here today to view her mini mobile suite. So if you want to come with me, we'll take a look. Hi, Trina.
Hi.
It's nice to see you again.
You as well. Welcome.
Thank you very much. So this is your mini mobile suite. So tell me about the mini mobile suite and where did this idea come from?
Yeah, I learned about family-involved death care in my doula training. I went through the Conscious Dying Institute in Boulder, Colorado, and one of the people came to speak with us about this idea, and I thought, well, that's fascinating. I wanted to bring that to California, but I found that when I started talking to people about taking care of loved ones at home, they were a little nervous about having a decedent, a dead body, even their loved one's dead body in the home. So I thought maybe if I had something like this, it would provide a little bit of insulation, a little insularity, a little safety zone. It's private, but it's open, it's small. We can bring it onto their property, and that would make them feel a little bit more comfortable about approaching family-involved death care.
This is a great idea. It's really wonderful. Can we see the inside?
I'd love to show you.
Great. Lead the way.
So the reason I selected this particular camper, it's called actually a happier camper, is because of this big hatch in the back. A lot of small RVs only have a door that's like 30 inches wide, and that'd be very difficult to get a body in and out easily and comfortably. So that's why I chose this particular camper. As you look inside it, the other thing that I love about it is that it can be completely transformed. This is all fiberglass and sort of like the bottom of a pickup truck. You can take all of this out. It has a drain. You can clean everything out and start over. I put some tile down, and I also put a rug, a carpet down. Goes with the poppies that I put in the back to add a pop of color.
Trina, what is the experience like for the family when they have their loved ones here? And I see you have a loved one right here.
That's right. This is Manny the mannequin, who I use for my training to give people an idea of what this will feel like. Actually, what I love about this is people can be as close as they want to be, or they can also be a little further away. With the bar there and the windows open, they can be close or far. They can actually come and sit. I mean, this can accommodate up to 8 people. They can touch their person. They can also clean and dress the body in the mini mobile suite. However, I really advise that they do that in the home, and then they carry the body out here, just because it's easier inside with water and that kind of thing. And then they can easily carry the body. I have a board right here that they can easily carry the body, and then we shroud them, cover them up, and they can be out here for a couple of hours or a couple of days. We just need to keep the body cool.
Can we go inside?
Yeah, come on in. Watch your step here and watch your head there.
So what is this box here?
This is a memory keeper, and actually I just got it at Michael's. But when people come to visit and sit with Manny or their loved one, they can put little notes in here. The other thing this can be used for actually is for the ashes after a cremation. I tell people that because you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars for an urn. You can just get any container like that.
So you talked about how people can actually make this space their own, and make this space their loved one's own.
Right.
I see that you have pictures up here. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I put the wires and hooks and clips, and so you could put photos or cards up around them as little mementos for them as a part of the ceremony. What I wanted to do is to create an environment to give people an idea of what it could look like, but they can take all of this down and they can add their own fabrics, scarves, whatever. Certainly they can bring in music, they can bring in a guitar, they can bring in things to eat and drink and put on the counter out there, and just sit and touch and be close to their person. There's nothing like just being able to put your hands on your person and know that they're protected and in your care. And so that's typically what happens. People just come and they might be quiet, they might sing. I've seen people laugh, go from tears to laughter in just a few seconds.
So, and there's electricity in here.
There is, yes, we have electricity right here. There's a fan here. The body would need to be kept cool, and so we would put an ice pack underneath the body and probably on top of the torso as well, cover that with a quilt or the shroud. But it's important that the body is kept cool for the time that it's here, whether it's a couple of hours or a couple of days. Today is kind of a cool day, so it's not going to be as important. If it was 100 degrees outside, you definitely want to make sure you have ice. There might be a few days in California where this would not be a good option because it would be so hot.
Yeah, I've seen when people, after a loved one dies, and they don't call the funeral home right away, they actually have their loved one remain in the home. It's not like they have it there for a couple days just because it is. People get nervous about it, as you've said.
Right.
But it really helps the grieving process. And I've seen family members just come in and tell stories about their loved one, as if the loved one is still there. Right. So it's really a beautiful thing. Very comforting compared to just rushing the body out and then being in a funeral home.
An invitation I like to offer to families is after a person dies, and especially if they've been at home on hospice, you don't have to immediately call the mortuary to come remove the body. They can be there for a couple of hours or a couple of days, whatever they feel comfortable with. Even if the family has chosen direct cremation for their person, especially maybe if they choose direct cremation, that body's going to be taken away and they're not going to ever see them again. So the opportunity to get to spend some quiet, reflective time with their loved one is such a beautiful, rare opportunity, and a lot of people just don't know that they can do it. And so I want to educate people and empower them to do it if it's an option. A lot of times people don't know if they're gonna want to do it until the time comes. That's the other thing is, as an end-of-life guide, I can come in and assist them to whatever degree they want it. Maybe at first they're not sure what to do at all, and so I'm more involved. And then they come in and they see what it is, and I'm less involved. So that's really the way we want it to go.
I know that after a person passes away, having their body with their family, there is that sense of peace that they are still with their loved ones, they're still with their person, but there's ritual behind it sometimes, and not all the time. But I know that many doulas help wash the body and have the family participate in that. In your experience, what is that like? Can you walk us through when a person passes away and what you do within the home usually, and then how does the loved one get from the home and then transition into the mini mobile suite?
I can take you through that. So typically, they're going to be in their bed, and if a family chooses to wash the body, either for practical purposes or for ceremonial purposes, they can do that in the hospital bed. Typically, hospice brings in a hospital bed, which is easy to maneuver. Or they could move the body onto a table, massage table, any table that's sturdy enough, and wash the body. It's not going to be like a shower or a bath. It's like a bed bath that they're doing. And they can do that, and then they can dress them or they can shroud them on that table. And then there's a technique for just using a sheet to lift the body and carry the body out to the mini mobile suite. I recommend that at least 4 to 6 people do that. You want to be really careful that nobody hurts their back in the process or trips. The other thing that you want to make sure that you do is walk through the house before and come to the camper and just see where there are any trip hazards or stairs or anything like that that you need to take into account.
So when a person decides that they do want to use a mini mobile suite, what does it look like as far as delivery? I'm talking about the practicalities. Now, do you visit, or do you have them visit here before, just so that they could see this, and then once they decide they want to do it, you deliver the mini mobile suite? And how far in advance do you deliver it?
Whenever they need it, we'll bring it for sure. So the ideal situation is for them to give me a call before their loved one passes so that we can make all the logistical arrangements. I can bring it in at any point. And that way it'll be set and taken care of. As far as people coming to visit, I think of this in terms of replacing a viewing at a funeral home. This is a similar situation, but it's within the family's control, how they want to create the environment, what they want to do or not do. Maybe it's a very quiet, reflective experience, or maybe it's a jolly, laughing experience with rock music. I don't know. They can do whatever they want to do because it's on their property and they get to completely decide how it's going to go.
So in San Jose, as an example, in the Bay Area where people don't own a lot of land, where do people usually place the mini mobile suite?
That can be a challenge, and that's another good reason for them to call us sooner rather than later so that we can come out and do a site survey and make sure that it is appropriate. You definitely need a private space. I live in a cul-de-sac here, and we have a long driveway, and this is a private space. You might want to have some cars and things like that out there, and a little note saying, private. Otherwise, hopefully they have a friend who has a bit of private space. Not everybody does. This would not be an urban solution in the middle of downtown San Jose or San Francisco. But even in a suburban area like where I live in Los Altos, this is very doable.
So their loved one's going to be here overnight. Let's say the loved one's here for a couple nights. Does this all lock up?
It does, yes. And they can keep their loved one here overnight locked up, or they may choose to bring the loved one inside. It's completely up to them. But because this is very private and it's all locked up, they can leave the loved one here. It might be a thing where 24 hours are sort of doing a vigil. People are coming and going, and somebody they can't sleep at night and they want to be with their person. They might want to get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee and be with their person. So they have the option to do that when they want to, rather than having to schedule something with a mortuary.
Children, how do children react to this environment? And what are some of the kind of neat things that they have done in here?
Mm-hmm. Well, all kids are different, and we listen to the parents to determine what they think is appropriate for their kids. But some things that kids can do, there's an alternative container that's used for flame cremation. It's a cardboard box with a lid on it. And so I've seen kids especially enjoy decorating that with paints and crayons and chalk. So that's something that they can do outside of the mini mobile suite to participate in the ceremony. And they can get as close as they want. There are a lot of kids who live in multi-generational families who are used to their elderly grandparents, used to their grandparents being sick in bed and maybe even helping to care for them. So this is just a gentle transition, and I think it's healthy for them to be a part of it. Not to introduce them if they've never been a part of that kind of thing, but I think that it can be a healthy closure kind of experience for them.
So we talked about rituals and cleaning the body, and many people want to do that inside their home, but many people also are uncomfortable with it, and having something like this where you can do some of that washing here, you can bring in and do that sponge bath. Do you get that a lot? And what does that look like in here? How do people do that?
Well, I bring in my supplies, and I have room underneath the cushions here for my supplies, but we've had people actually wash the decedent's hair, wash and rinse their hair, clean the body, dress the body, shroud the body, all of that in here. It's very doable, just as you would do it inside a house. If the family feels more comfortable with doing it here, then we do that.
So many people don't have the material, the equipment at home, that washing the hair in bed and washing the body in bed, because it's something that we usually don't do.
Right.
Do you supply that equipment so people don't have to buy something that hopefully they won't use often?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's another benefit of working with a home funeral guide. I have all of the supplies and equipment that's necessary. One thing I do, for example, is I use Bronner's soap. Families can buy that, but they have different, I call them different flavors, peppermint and lavender and lemon, and so the family can choose which one is most befitting their loved one. But we can use that to wash the hair, to wash the body. I have all different kinds of products. I have a neck prop, which makes it easier to wash the hair, and there's an inflatable, I don't even know what we call it, but it helps to wash a body that's bedridden. So I have all of that equipment and all those supplies that can be used.
Yeah, the inflatable sink. I've seen that where
right, yeah. So, and I also have the shrouds, or I can recommend a shroud. Family can also just use a quilt. This is just a quilt. Anybody can make their own, and I can show them how to do that.
What happens to the body after a person passes away that people might be concerned about, or that people should know?
Yeah, well, I think a couple of things. Firstly, people think about rigor mortis. What is rigor mortis? We've heard of that. We've seen scary movies, and what does that mean? And so the body will go through that process of stiffening for a while, and then the body relaxes again. Immediately following death, everything does relax. The jaw will come open, the eyes are open, everything relaxes, including the bowels and bladder, but they're probably wearing an adult diaper. And just as we cleaned them when they were on hospice, we would clean them after death as well. There might be some fluid coming out of the mouth. That happens. You just clean it up. It's not a big deal. It's just not scary. It's like what you expect when they're on hospice. The same kinds of fluids and those sorts of things that you're managing while they're dying, it's very similar immediately after death. As far as the mouth being open and the eyes being open, there's some things that you can do to close the mouth naturally, to keep the mouth closed, and to close the eyes. You could put a eye pillow over the eyes if you want to do that, just to soften the look. You can take sort of translucent fabric like this and put it over the face as well to soften the features.
How long do people keep their person or their loved one in the mini mobile suite usually?
Yeah, it's a good question. It can vary anywhere from just a few hours to a day or 2 or 3. Typically after a person dies, if they're working with a mortuary who file the paperwork for the death certificate and the disposition permit, takes 3 to 5 days to get that disposition permit. So the family could keep their loved one here that long if they want to. It could take a little longer, it could take a little less, or at any point when they just say, we're done, we feel complete, they can call the mortuary to come and remove the body. But I have had families who want to transport the body themselves to a green burial, for example. And because the person is decedent, is dead, we can strap them in here and we can actually transport them to a green burial, and the family can be a part of that, take the body out and lower them into the ground at the green cemetery.
Yeah, I know that you have made lots of friendships and lots of partnerships with different options.
Yeah.
Do you help with that? Do you help people choose, and
I
do you go through all of that?
I do, yeah. Especially the Green Cemetery, because we've got one so close, Purisima Cemetery, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It's just lovely, quite affordable, And so I work with the owner there and help people find a space that's suitable for them and talk about pricing and that sort of thing. I also work with a funeral director here in the area who helps with cremation and that sort of thing, the paperwork and unique situations and questions that come up. And then I also work with White Rose Aqua Cremation in Escondido. They're the first and only water crematory in California. And so they've been very helpful about filing paperwork and things like that at a very affordable rate.
And I know that you do have a tool, or you do have, you do have something on your website that you actually walk people step by step with what they can expect. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It is, it's called the Family Involved Death Care tool or options that are available, including the disposition options that are available. A lot of people only know about flame cremation and a traditional burial. There are a lot of other options besides that, and so that's the very first question: which disposition option would you like to choose? And there are little check boxes so that they can actually check the one. And then, are you going to use a mortuary? If yes, who is that and a space for that? Are you going to use a home funeral guide? If yes, who will that be? And then actually walking them through the steps of taking care of your loved one's body at home. Because if they see that and they see how it's done and what the supplies are, they might choose to do it on their own, or they might say, this is a lot. I think I want to hire a home funeral guide to help me. So it gives them a big picture view of what to expect and helps them making that decision.
It's a great thing to have on your site because, as you said, so many people don't know their options, and we don't talk about it.
They don't really know what's involved. Yeah. And so yeah, that's the reason why I created it, is to see the big picture of what to expect, and then they can make that decision.
Trina, thank you so much for having us here today, inviting us into this space, and having this as an option for families. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.